Okay, this is Orlando Wilson. What I want to talk about in this video is organized crime. And this is something I can see becoming a lot more prevalent in the very near future due to the state of the world at the moment, to put it politely, and without getting into politics. You know what? I've always said the criminals generally have one step ahead of law enforcement, security, etc. And I think that's becoming 10 steps ahead. If you see now, it's common knowledge. Criminals have embraced technology. Criminals are using the internet, the dark web. They're using social media to identify targets, follow targets, etc., etc. Cybercrime, internet scams, virtual scams. That's one of the new realms of organized crime. It's a lot easier for them to do that type of thing than it is to do the physical crimes. But the physical crimes are, I would say, are going to be up in the near future. Even the criminals are even using drones now to do reconnaissances of places they want to rob, burgle, etc. So, you know what? One thing with the criminals, they generally have the advantage because they don't have to work by rules. They don't need licenses. They don't need permits. They can do what the hell they want. Whereas a lot of law enforcement, okay, they have to think about rules, regulations, budgeting, etc. Criminals don't have to think about that. Private security, licenses, permits, etc., etc. So this is where, to me, criminals, and especially organized criminals, have the advantage. Define organized crime. In the old days, it used to be Cosa Nostra, Russian mafia, etc., triad, etc. These days, I would say organized crime, I'd define it as a group of criminals that's got together and decide to work together. And that can be a group of 5, a group of 10, etc. And these criminals will cooperate with other criminals. So even though they might be independent in their own grouping, they're still cooperating with other criminals for intelligence, logistics, selling stolen goods, etc. Or just cooperating for money laundering or something. When criminals go to jail, they network, they work together. Okay, so why do I say I see an uprise in organized crime in the near future? I'll just give you some basic pointers. The war in Ukraine. Okay, when that's finished, one way or the other, there's going to be a lot of disgruntled soldiers, volunteers, that are not going to be happy going back to a 9-to-5 job, a regular lifestyle, etc., after they've been on an adrenaline rush for how many years. They're also trained to some extent. They'll have weapons. You mean weapons from Ukraine have been turning up apparently in Gaza. So if they can get that far, and there's also been reports of javelins turning up in Latin America. So there's plenty of weapons out there for those that are in denial, and all this was predicted. I can see there being a lot more weapons being distributed throughout Europe to start with, globally in the very near future. Military grade weapons in the hands of criminals. So again, you're going to have how many disgruntled soldiers once their service is finished in Ukraine are still going to be chasing the juice, so we say. They'll want the adrenaline, they'll want quick money, they're not going to go back to normal life. So generally when conflicts like Ukraine finish, there's going to be an uprising crime. You're going to have organized groups seeking quick money, shall we say. And also, there's plenty of reports of crime going on in Ukraine anyway, be it weapons trafficking, human trafficking. There's a lot of shit going on, to put it politely. Reach out now to what's just happened in Gaza. Okay, how can that lay over into organized crime? Well, terrorism is generally funded by crime. In the old days, when a terrorist organization, a revolutionary organization, wanted funding for their campaigns, they went out and robbed banks, extortion, etc. These days, we can throw on top of that drug trafficking, human trafficking, gold trafficking, and again, back down to extortion, robbery, etc., etc. And for those of you that aren't that well aware, I wrote an article how many years ago that Hezbollah were active in Venezuela, very active, and had a presence. And again, they're involved in the gold trafficking, drug trafficking, etc. So they're there. Also with terrorism, as I said, it goes hand in hand with organized crime. Even if you're looking at Northern Ireland, for an example, the Irish terrorists were very much into drug trafficking, extortion. So, be it extremist religious groups or extremists, I can see there being a backlash from the issues with Israel and Palestine, not only from the religious extremists, but also the political extremists, left wing and right wing, all of whom need to fund their causes. And the easiest way to do it, crime, one way or the other. Now, jumping on, I'll give you another example of how I see things going bad. You see now in the US, UK, Europe, you've got all these kiddie little gangs going into stores and helping themselves and robbing. Helping themselves to clothes, going into supermarkets, going into department stores and just helping themselves. Is that crime organized? To some extent, yes. And one thing with that type of crime, even though it's a low-level crime, those criminals now know they can get away with that. Those criminals, those kids that's going in, or people that's going in and robbing those stores, know they can go in and rob a store, help themselves to whatever, and get away with it. Law enforcement's impotent, security personnel are impotent, they can't do anything about it. So these kids, these little kiddie gangsters are going to be looking at this and saying, okay, if we can go in and rob a department store, if we can go in and rob a supermarket, what else can we get away with? So the next up from that is, okay, are they going to be moving into kidnappings, express kidnappings, etc.? It's quick money. Are they going to be moving into more street robberies, more burglaries? I think there was some influencer in UK, some TikTok idiot, that was going around and just walking into people's houses. And again, there's not much under UK law, there's not much the police can do about it. I think they arrested him, I'm not sure. But again, if somebody can walk into your house and there's nothing you can do about it, what's stopping them walking into your house and committing crimes? Robbery, rape, assault, etc. So once these little kiddie gangs get organized, they're going to be causing big problems, especially now they're empowered because they know they can get away with the crimes. How does this affect ordinary people? I would say there's going to be an upsurge in general crime, especially as the economies get tighter. If you're a business owner, you're going to be more open to robbery, extortion, etc. If you live a nice lifestyle, if you have assets, again, this is going to open you up to more chances of extortion, robbery, etc. So this is where I'd say people need to be a lot more aware these days and start taking precautions. Because again, I can see there being a serious upscaling in what I would say is organized crime. Groups of criminals getting organized and starting to target people because they know, for the most, they can get away with the crimes. Why? The police are too busy, especially in Western Europe, especially in UK. The police are more interested in what people are posting on Facebook rather than going after people for theft, burglaries, robberies, etc. And I've had people say it's like theft in UK, burglaries in UK are basically decriminalized because the police don't have the time to deal with it. And I think you also see the demonization of law enforcement and security these days. I think a lot of the cops don't want to get involved in too much because, again, they're risking their jobs, risking their pensions, because as soon as they lay hands on somebody or as soon as they start doing their job, they get hit with accusations of human rights violations, etc. So the criminals know the law's generally on their side. And again, most criminals, they're not stupid people. This is a big misconception. A lot of criminals are very highly intelligent people. So not only they're planning their crimes, they're planning how to get away with their crimes and then planning how to use the system. So a little bit of a warning there. So I hope this gives you something to think about. In the meantime, follow me along on social media. I've got a lot more of these videos up. Also an array of books up on Amazon that talks about various aspects of the security business and crime fiction. And we're looking to get the courses going again in 2024. I'm slam busy. So that's a good thing. And I can see us being busier in the future because chaos is always good for business. So be good, stay safe, and stay out of trouble.